Today, I'm going to talk about the quick modify fields feature. I'm going to do a deep dive into that. Carol had talked about it last month and kind of gave a quick overview when it became a new feature. But there's a lot of things that we can do with this new feature, and I thought it was worth demonstrating to everybody. So everybody's probably familiar with these icons over here. So you can edit the branching logic, copy fields, move fields, or delete fields. Um, but you can also do multiple fields at once. And that is where the quick modify fields feature comes in. So in order to activate that, you just select one of these checkboxes here on the side, and it will open up this panel for you to access all these features. And then this way you can select multiple fields and have actions that apply to multiple fields at once instead of having to do them one at a time. So if I wanted to move a field here, I would only be able to select one field at a time and move it. If I copied a field, it would only copy one at a time and bring it below. But if I want to perform actions on multiple fields, this is where the quick modify fields feature comes in handy. So you have two options. You can either have it laid out on the side. So if I check here, you'll see it pops up on the side of the form, or you can have it overlaid over the top. So it'll pop up here. This I feel kind of gets lost, especially if because it moves down into the field or the form. So I tend to like it on the side. And then in order to activate it, you just check a box and it'll pop up. And if you close the window or the little call out box, it'll deselect everything. So when multiple fields are checked, even though there's multiple fields that are checked, one of them will be the selected like active field. And you'll notice that when I select, when I keep checking these boxes, this follows which was the last one that I checked. And this will be important later because some of these actions depend on which box is the active selected box. And if you've made a selection like this, let's say I just wanted to select all these, but I really want this one to be the active field, I can use these arrows to move my way up to that. Or what you can do is deselect this one and then reselect it, and it'll move it all the way down. So that way, I mean, if you have a lot of fields selected, you don't want to have to keep hitting the arrow key or the arrow button to go up and get those selected. So that's a quick way to navigate through. So the first choice that we have is to copy all selected fields. And then with the copy selected fields, we have multiple options. So I'm just going to select two of these. And if I select copy all fields, this is nice. It tells you which fields you're going to copy. So I just have Q1 and Q2 selected. Now I have two options on where I get to paste them. Here I get to paste each new field will be added after its original. So Q5, I believe, will go here after Q1, and then Q6 will go after Q2. And then, or I can have the fields go down to the last selected field. So they'll both pop up after Q2. So I'm just going to leave this one first. And then the other option here is to replace the selection with the newly created fields. And the wording is kind of weird on that. At first, it sounds like you're going to I'm going to copy new fields and I'm going to replace these fields with those new fields. But that's not what it is at all. It's only replacing the selection here. So once I create the new fields, it's going to check those boxes for the new fields and then uncheck these boxes here. So I'll show you that here in a sec. So I have this, and then I'm going to copy the fields. And then you'll see here that Q5 and Q6 interlaced in between the selections that I had. And then now these are selected. So if I wanted to perform an action on those, which if I want to move them, I'll just move them here after Q4. We'll keep everything in order. So now they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, if I select, I'm just going to select 1 and 2 again. And if I select the other option, these are going to be after the last selected field. So they're going to pop up after Q2. And they'll pop up together. And then you see that I didn't check that replace option. So now these are still selected. So now if I want to select these two and move them to the end, I can do that. So that's the first option, is copying fields. And then moving all the selected fields is pretty easy. We just kind of saw that, but basically you just have the option of selecting where in the form you want them. And if you want to move them to a new instrument that doesn't exist, if I wanted to take these from here and then move them, I don't have to create, you used to have to create the instrument first and then put a field, like a dummy field there, because it would only allow you to do it after an existing field. But now they've added this to where you can have it move to a newly created instrument. And what it'll do is it'll create the instrument and move it. So if I do that, and I close it, let's go to the designer here. So now they've moved over. It's just giving me a default new instrument, and I can go in and edit the title for that. I'm going to move them back just because I want to be able to use them. So I'm going to put them after Q5. The nice thing here is you can actually navigate to the instrument here instead of having to go back out to the designer and then go back in. You can also delete all selected fields. So if I have a bunch of these that I don't need, I can select multiples, and instead of having to do it one at a time here, I can just delete from here. And it's going to confirm that I want to do Q6, Q7, and Q8. So if I delete those. The next option is that I can actually convert multiple fields into a matrix, which is really cool. So if I select all these, the next option here is to convert to a matrix, and the fields have to be adjacent to each other. They also have to be only radio buttons or checkboxes that are not already part of a matrix group. So if I selected, like if I just wanted the first field and the last two fields, like I wouldn't be able to do that. And you'll see here now that it gives me a little no icon that says I can't do that. Because they're not adjacent to each other. But as soon as I do this, then you'll also notice that it changes color. It's a darker blue that shows that it's enabled. And now I get the little hand icon that says I can change it. So now if I select this, it's going to tell me that these 5 fields are going to be converted to a matrix group, but only the choices for the first field will be preserved. So that's an important thing to note, because if you have some differences, the option for the first field is going to apply to all the other fields. In this case, they're all yes, no, so it doesn't really matter. And it says here that additionally, it will remove all field notes from the fields, and will also remove all section headers except for the first field section header if it exists. So if I convert these fields, now all of these are a matrix. And then you still have some options here in the quick modify field. So I can still move and delete and things like that. I obviously can't make it a part of another matrix, but the other nice thing too is you can do branching logic and all this other stuff within a matrix, which is what I'm about to explain next. So the branching logic, so let's go ahead and just select all these matrix fields. And then the branching logic, let's say I only want to display the fields if this is yes, and this is 1 and this is 0. for a yes, no. So if I want to edit the branching logic for all of these, instead of having to go here manually and doing it, I can go in and add the branching logic. So there's multiple options here with branching logic. You can clear the branching logic from all the fields. If there's branching logic in one field, you can apply it to all the other fields, or you can add new branching logic to all the selected fields. So right now, I'm just going to add the branching logic, and I'm going to say display fields equals 1, and I'm going to save that, and it's going to add that to all of these. So I'll apply it. So now all the branching logic is applied to these fields. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to remove that branching logic. So I'll just clear it, and it removes it. So if I just go in and add the branching logic for this first field, the next option is I can select all of these fields and say, I want to copy the branching logic. But the problem is it's saying, do I want to copy the branching logic of the current field Q5 to the other fields? Well, there's no branching logic on that field. I want Q1. So I want to move this up to Q1. And now if I select it, it'll be highlighted or enabled, and then I can copy the branching logic to all the other fields, and it adds it. So I think that's a really nice feature to be able to do that. The other thing is that you can add new branching to the selected field and overwrite any existing branching logic. So let's say I messed up and this wasn't a 1, it was supposed to be a 0, or vice versa, or something like that. If I go in here and just add branching logic, so we'll just say now it's no. This is going, it doesn't add to that branching logic that is already there. So it's not going to build a complex, like a compound statement that says if this equals this and this. It's just going to overwrite what already exists for the selected field. So it's going to turn all these to 0. And if I want to go back and change it to 1, I can do that here. And this is really nice because if you're trying to figure out complex branching logic, you're able to do that on like one field and then copy it to all the other fields once you know it's working. So that's branching logic. The next option here is action tags. So we can go in and add action tags, and there's a lot of options for this. So I'm going to add action tags first. So I'm just going to say @hidden for the action tag. And what this is going to do is going to add the following new action tags to the selected fields. So I'm going to go ahead and add it. And now all of these are going to be hidden. And now if I select it again, if I say add, and let's say I do hidden survey. This one is different than the branching logic, where the branching logic will overwrite the existing branching logic. This will actually append this to the action tags that already exist. So you can build complex action tags like this. And then you can also edit and remove individual action tags. So let's say I want this hidden, but only on the survey. I should be able to clear, let me see. Oh, so it's this. So if I want to clear all of them, so let me just clear to show you. This will remove everything. And now if I add hidden survey and hidden, I'll add both of them at the same time. So you don't have to do them one at a time. You can, just the way you can do it in the field editor with multiple action tags, you can do that same thing here. Now, if I want to, let's say I want to remove hidden, and let's say I only want it to be hidden on the survey. I can't go in and just do this, right? Because if I do this and I add, it's going to apply it again. So I'm going to have to remove it. So let me just clear this to show you how to do that. So I'm going to add hidden survey and hidden again. And then let's say I just want to remove hidden and not hidden survey. What I have to do is I have to deactivate the action tag. in the selected fields. So what I would do is I want to deactivate I want to deactivate hidden. So I select deactivate, and what this is going to do, this is interesting. It adds another action tag that turns off or deactivates the action tag. So I'll hit apply. And if we go into one of these fields to edit, and actually let me do it down here because the matrix fields are a little weird in terms of showing everything. So I'm going to apply those action tags, and then I'm going to deactivate hidden. Now, this is the action tag I was talking about, and it's called deactivated action tags. And then it's appending this off dot off dot hidden prefix to the hidden action tag. So it's turning that action tag off. So these two action tags, this action tag and this prefix are a new feature that deactivates action tags. And you can do this manually too. You don't have to go through the editor as long as you know how to format this. It doesn't show up in the action tag description here. So it's probably better to use the quick modify if you don't know exactly how to use it. Now, if I go back to those fields and I can reactivate it, and then you can see here, when no action tags are listed above, then all of the action tags will be deactivated or reactivated respectively. So if I didn't put anything in here, both of those tags would have been deactivated or reactivated. So if I do reactivate, what it does is it removes that action tag, that deactivated action tag, and then removes that prefix from the hidden action tag. And then if I go back to the action tags, then the other option is I can copy action tags from one field and apply it to other fields. So if I let's say if I add a default here. Now what I think is going to happen is if I copy all of these, it's going to, did I save that? Yes, okay. What'll happen is it's going to copy, I believe, all of them to the existing one. So we'll just go ahead and try that. So if I say copy, okay. So that's good. It doesn't add the duplicates like it does when you add this way. So if I added it this way, it would just keep adding them on. Whereas this one, it's smart enough to know not to duplicate those. And then the last option here is I can edit action tags of the current field. Trying to see how that is. There you go. It's that. So it's weird. I was expecting a little radio button to be able to check on that. And it took me a second to figure out that was a link. So then you could come in here and edit the action tag for C3, and then these will be fine. So this is just a way, this is essentially the same thing as going into this field and selecting in the field editor and then clicking here. So it just opens that up without you having to do that. Even though you have multiple fields checked, it's only going to apply to that, the active field, if that makes sense for this one. So that's the action tag. Now, the last option here is to edit choices. and you can go in and change the choices for the following fields. So I have C1, C2, and C3. I can copy the choices from the current field to all of the other selected fields. So if I check this and apply it, you can see now all of these are black, white, and gray. It replaced all of the options for these two with the one from the selected field. The next is I can append new choices to the following fields. So let's say I go in here and change this to red, blue, and yellow, and it's going to give me options. I'm going to have to change these to, so let's say 4, 5, and 4, 5, and 6. So now that this is the selected field, what it'll do is it'll append those to the existing fields. Let's see, why isn't that selecting? Oh, I think I have to put them here. So we'll say 4 red, 5 blue, and 6 yellow. And it says here that they will be appended after any existing choices. When codes are duplicated, the previous existing choice will be overwritten. If a matrix field is targeted, this applies to the entire group, will not apply to yes, no, and true, false fields. So if I hit apply, it's going to add red, blue, and yellow to these because those choices weren't there. But because the choices were here for 4, 5, and 6, it overwrites them, but essentially just doesn't do anything for those. So that's appending. And then you can convert fields from radio buttons to checkboxes or drop-down list. So if we want to change these, they're already checkboxes. So if I want to change them to radio buttons, it'll change them all to radio buttons. If I want to change them to multiple choice and then enable autocomplete for that, I can apply that. So now they're drop downs. And if I do start typing black or blue, it'll autocomplete. If I want to change them back to radio buttons, I can just select or change them back to checkboxes. And then finally, the same sort of thing, if you just want to edit the choices for the current field, it gives you that option to add those. And then there's other options up here. So you can copy all the choices to the clipboard, paste the choices, undo the last change, clean up the table, which will remove the blank rows, move positions up and down. So if I select 4, I can move it down or I can move it back up. I can mark all currently selected rows, unmark all currently selected rows, delete, get choices from another field in this project, or download a CSV file with all the choices. So this will be helpful if you have a really complex list of choices like states or something like that that's really big. You can edit them in here. And then you can also filter on the choices in this little window here.
Hey, Manny, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Can you look at field C3 design? I just want to see so were those originally 1, 2, and 3, and then it overwrote with them with 4, 5, and 6, even though the text, the label was the same, so when you were overwriting them,
No, when I made the field, I had just typed the values and then it auto assigned 1, 2, 3, and then I changed them to 4, 5, 6 before I saved it.
Oh,
yeah.
So
because I realized it was gonna conflict with these up here that were 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So if red, blue, and yellow were 4, 5, and were 1, 2, and 3, then when you applied that, let's just say you did it by mistake. I mean, you selected the 3 bottom ones, and then you try to change them to 4, 5, and 6.
So yeah, if I append, so what I would do is I would have to change this to 1, right? 1, 2, and 3.
Well, no, I wondered if you left them 4, 5, and 6, what would it do?
Well, the other ones are 4, 5, and 6. So if I think what you're saying is if I do 1, 2, and 3, will it overwrite these three?
No, no. If you do 4, 5, and 6, and you have, like right now, that's 1, 2, and 3. So
Mm-hmm.
if you put in 4, 5, and 6 for red, blue, and yellow, what happens to C3? Just yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it appends to the end because there is no
Yeah,
4,
there's
5, and
no.
6.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then here it didn't do anything because those already existed as 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the first
So,
time I did it, it added these because there was no 4, 5, and 6. So then it just did the same thing here because there was no 4, 5, and 6. They were 1, 2, 3.
yeah, so the only comment I have about, well, I have two comments. One, while do I love the ability to apply the branching logic to the matrix, because that's always been a massive pain when you have like 10 options in your matrix and you have the same branching logic for all of them and you have to go into each one.
Mm-hmm.
What a savings that would be. I guess my only caution would be if you already have data in your instruments that you would, if you're going to be changing numbers or going from options or going from checkboxes to options or vice versa, I would guess that you're going to disconnect from your data if
Yeah.
there's data there. And so I think we should just caution that this is a great, great addition, but when you're making changes, once there's data in there, live data, which means that in theory you should be in production, but if you're not, then you want to be careful before you start screwing around. And I guess the disclaimer I should make is we do have, if you do screw that up, we do have options for data recovery from a previous version. If you lose your data and you forget what changes you made, I mean, we can go back in versions. We can pick a date, bring up, we have a different instance of REDCap and you can bring that up and see what was there before you screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I would clarify that that's only here at the University of
Oh,
Arizona.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yep.
And I didn't think to say that.
One other thing I would say, I'm sure that all the people that are actually here know this, but the difference is to tell whether it's a radio button or a multiple choice or is the checkbox looks like a square and radio buttons look like a circle.
Yeah.
In case you're just looking at it and you're not real familiar, that's definitely a quick key.
You also only get the reset link here for radio buttons.
Yeah, because you can check and uncheck a
Yeah, because
checkbox.
once you select a radio button, it forces you to select an option. But if you want, you have to reset. And then, oh, it's because I'm in the designer. It's not going to reset. But this link is only for radio buttons. The checkboxes you can always check and uncheck.
Yeah, good comment.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, that's all right. So the next thing is down here. You can set fields to be required. So if I want to set all these 3 fields to be required, it does it automatically. If I want to turn that off, I can turn that off again. So which is really nice instead of having to go into each one of those. Same thing with set these fields to be identifiers. I can set them to be identifiers, which will give this little icon up here to show that it's an identifier. If I want to remove that from multiple fields, I can remove that. And then this, I think, is really going to be nice. You can set the custom alignment here for multiple fields. So like you can see here now that these are moving over and they're kind of wrapping around. I can either make this right vertical, or I can make them left vertical if I want, or I can make them left horizontal. And it's really nice, instead of having to go into here for each field manually and then selecting it, seeing how it looks, going back out, and then coming back in. I can select them all here, and I can just make these changes directly, which I think is great.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. The next thing is, I'm just going to leave these as left horizontal. The next thing is this option here. It like kind of takes this to the next level. So this is already really cool with all the things that you can do. But what this does is it allows you to configure how you select fields and how you can include fields or exclude fields, and then like the direction you can go. So for example, the first one here is to select all the fields from top to bottom. So if I select that and then say add new selections, it's going to select all the fields for me. So I don't have to go through one at a time. But let's say that, so let me close that so that way I deselect. So let's say that I only want like these fields in the matrix. Instead of having to manually select each one of these, what I can do is I can select the first field that I want and the last field, and I can go in here and I can say include the fields between the first and last selected fields. So I check that option and then I add that selection. And then you also have this option to say, do I want to select the fields towards the top from my current field or towards the bottom? So if I, sorry, if I close this, and let's say I want to select these here, so I can just click on this one here and then say select the fields towards the bottom and then activate that. Or I can select the bottom of this matrix and then say I want to go towards the top and add that to select. The other options down here, and then you have include all the fields between the current field and the next selected field above. And that's it's kind of weird the way it's explained, but it's let me just try to give a demo here. So if I select the bottom field, if I select this top field and I select the bottom field, we'll see how this works out. So if I say I want to include all the fields between the current field and the next selected field above, so my current field is this bottom one here, Q5, and then the next selected field is Q2. So if I say add that, it's going to do the same thing as doing in between. But if I selected this one and then selected this one, my current selected field is this. And if I do that, it's going to add the fields above the current selected field. So it skipped this one. So that's why it's important to pay attention to which field is the active selected field, because depending on how you use some of these, it'll matter in which ones automatically get selected or not. And then this is the if you want it the field below. So if we did like if I did this field and then this field, and I said, give me all the fields below the active selected field or the next selected field, it'll give me all of these, and it ignores all of these up here. Another thing is that, so if we just select this to bring this up, you have all these restrictions. And so this is to include this whole row is to include field types, and this is to exclude field types, and this is to reset. So if I only want to select radio type fields, so let's say I want to select all, I'll just make select all here. If I want to select any radio type fields, I would select that and I would do add, and it selects everything except for these these checkboxes. And if I did, there's yes, no. So if I only want the yes, no, so replace existing selections, it's ignoring the matrix ones here, and all of these. So this one didn't get selected. Let me see, maybe Oh, I have to add it again. So add new selections. It should select them. I don't know why it's not. Well, add new selections. Yeah, I don't know why it's not adding. But so you have the yes, no fields, you have true, false, drop down fields, checkbox fields, text fields of any validation, number validation, date time fields, email validation, phone validation, notes fields, signature fields, slider fields, file upload fields, descriptive fields, calc fields, uh, SQL fields, fields in a matrix group. So that's probably why those other ones weren't being selected, because even though they're yes, no, they're in a matrix group. Fields that are required and fields that are identifiers. So this allows you to filter on, especially if you have a really complex form. This would be a way for you to filter the selection. So for example, if I just wanted to target all the descriptive fields because I have certain branching logic for labeling, this would allow me to go in and change like the branching logic for those or something like that, or identifiers. So this gives you a lot of power in how you select all these fields and then how you can apply all of that. And that's pretty much it for this. I think it'll be really handy to play around with it and kind of, figure out the best way to put it into your workflow. But I've already started using it for a lot of things and it's been really nice.
I would mention the little note at the bottom where it says make a snapshot.
Yeah, here, considering
Yes.
making a snapshot before making any changes to fields. Yeah. And that's a good practice to get into anyway. Like I do that anytime I plan on making changes to something. If I start the day and I'm going to make changes to a project, I will make a snapshot of the data dictionary. So that way, if anything happens, I know that I started my day with a clean snapshot, and that's the one I can always go back to, because it can get cumbersome when you have a long list of, let me see. So let me refresh this. A long list of data dictionaries. I don't know why it's taking forever. Oh, broke it.
Uh-oh. I'm still up.
There we go. So yeah, if you want to go here to the snapshot, it'll just show you your snapshots here. Just to give you an example of what I'm talking about with kind of keeping track of what you're doing. For this project, we have a ton of snapshots. So once you start getting a lot of snapshots, it's hard to remember where you were at or what was the clean one. But I'll do something like this where, like when I start working on something, it'll be the first one of that day. So I know that I have to go back to that one if anything messes up. And I found that it's easier to, if you're working on an instrument and you download the zip to work on the instrument and then you want to re-upload the zip. The problem is you have to delete the existing instrument to upload it, to re-upload it, because it won't overwrite. And if you have any events, you have to make sure that you redesignate that instrument for those events. So it's just kind of a pain to have to remember to do all that. But if you do it in the data dictionary, all you do is you just upload the data dictionary and it overwrites everything. And it makes the changes to the instrument that you made changes to. But you don't have to do any of that other stuff of like changing the title of the instrument or deleting the old instrument and replacing it with a new one, and you don't have to redesignate everything. So it's better to go through the data dictionary route than through the instrument zip route. So like here on the designer, if you choose instrument and download the zip, if I made changes to this, I would end up changing it. I'd have to upload the zip again, and then I'd have to delete this first and then upload the zip and then put it back in its order and all that stuff. So the data dictionary is a lot easier to do. So yeah, get used to creating snapshots of instruments. It's a good best practice. But does anybody have any questions about the quick fields feature? Quick modify fields feature?